The word slipped from her son's lips like a prayer. Dad. And in that instant, the ruthless man who'd forgotten how to feel remembered the one night he'd allowed himself to be human. The kitchen faucet dripped in rhythm with Amara's exhaustion, a steady, mocking beat that counted down the seconds until Kai would wake. She pressed her palms against the chipped countertop, the coolness biting into her skin, grounding her before the day could swallow her whole. 4:30 in the morning. Again. Her reflection in the darkened window showed a woman she barely recognized. 30 years old but wearing 35, her rich brown skin dull beneath the fluorescent hum, her hair wrapped in a silk scarf that had lost its sheen years ago. She'd been beautiful once. 5 years ago, she'd been beautiful enough to catch the eye of a man who shouldn't have looked twice at someone like her. She pushed the memory down where it belonged, buried beneath bills, grocery lists, and the relentless march of single motherhood. Mama? Kai's voice floated from the bedroom, soft and sleepy. Her heart shifted, the way it always did. Coming, baby. She found him tangled in sheets decorated with fading superheroes, his small face pressed against a pillow that desperately needed replacing. 4 years old, no, 5 now. 5 years of raising him alone, of explaining why there were no birthday cards from daddy, why other kids had 2 parents at school pickup while he only had her. 5 years of swallowing the truth that his father didn't know he existed. I had a dream, Kai whispered, his light brown eyes, so unlike her dark ones, blinking up at her, about a man with a big house. Amara's breath caught. What kind of man? A sad one. Kai reached for her, and she gathered him close, breathing in the innocence that still clung to his skin, baby shampoo, and something indefinably sweet. He looked like me, Mama, around the eyes. Don't ask questions you don't want answered, baby. Just a dream, she murmured, kissing his forehead. Go back to sleep. We've got a big day tomorrow. Tomorrow. The charity gala at the Meridian Hotel, where she'd serve champagne to people who spent more on shoes than she made in a month. Where she'd smile and be invisible, the way she'd learned to be, the way she needed to be. Across the city, Dante Morelli stood at floor-to-ceiling windows 40 stories above the streets, watching the city wake. His reflection in the glass was sharper than Amara's had been, all hard edges and expensive tailoring, a man carved from marble and ruthlessness. He held a tumbler of scotch he hadn't touched. 3 in the morning, and sleep remained a stranger. Behind him, his apartment stretched out in tasteful grays and blacks, a space designed by someone paid to understand luxury, inhabited by someone who understood only control. Art that cost fortunes, furniture that whispered wealth, and emptiness that screamed. Boss. His second in command, Vincent, appeared in the doorway. The Castellano matter is handled. Dante didn't turn. Cleanly? Always. Good. He took the smallest sip of scotch, felt it burn, felt nothing else. The charity event tomorrow. Securities arranged. Light detail. You'll be in and out. Dante nodded. These events were necessary theater. The legitimate businessman, the philanthropist, the man who'd inherited shipping empires and certainly nothing else. He played the role perfectly because he'd stopped being anything else years ago. Except for one night. One impossible night when a woman with frightened eyes and desperate courage had stumbled into his world and cracked something open inside him before disappearing like smoke. He'd looked for her. God, he'd looked. But some people didn't want to be found. Will that be all, boss? Dante set down the scotch. Yes. Get some sleep, Vincent. You should do the same. I don't sleep, Dante said softly. Not well, not without dreams of brown skin and whispered confessions of a connection he'd let slip away because he'd been too afraid to hold on to something real. Vincent left. Dante remained at the window, watching the sun threaten the horizon. Somewhere in this city, that woman existed. Somewhere, the memory he couldn't kill lived and breathed, and maybe, just maybe, still thought of him. He'd built an empire on knowing things, on controlling outcomes, on ensuring that nothing surprised him. But tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, a little boy with light brown eyes would look at him and recognize something deeper than memory, truer than DNA. Tomorrow, the word daddy would shatter the walls he'd spent 5 years building. Have you ever had someone from your past reappear when you least expected it? What would you do if faced with the truth you'd been running from? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your story. The Meridian Hotel ballroom dripped with wealth, crystal chandeliers that cost more than Amara's yearly rent, servers in crisp uniforms gliding between clusters of designer gowns and tailored suits, champagne flowing like water, while children somewhere in the city went to bed hungry. Amara had learned not to think about it. You couldn't survive in this world, even at its edges, if you let the injustice swallow you. She balanced her tray with practiced grace, a black uniform pressed and neat, her face arranged in pleasant neutrality. Invisible, professional, safe. Kai sat in the staff break room downstairs with Mrs. Chen's daughter, who was 16 and needed the extra cash Amara offered for babysitting. He'd begged to come, and she couldn't afford another sitter, just for a few hours, just until her shift ended. Champagne? She offered the tray to a woman whose necklace could have paid off Amara's student loans. The woman took a glass without looking at her, without seeing her. Perfect. Amara moved through the crowd, refilling glasses, collecting empties, existing in the spaces between. Conversations about mergers and vacation homes and problems that weren't really problems at all. Then the room shifted. She felt it before she saw him. A change in the air, a collective turning of heads, the way prey animals sense a predator. Dante Morelli entered through the main doors, flanked by two men in dark suits whose eyes never stopped moving. He wore power like a second skin, his tuxedo fitted to perfection, his dark hair touched with silver at the temples that somehow made him more devastating than before. 5 years had sharpened him, hardened him. But those eyes, God, those eyes were the same, storm gray and ancient and carrying secrets that could break a person. Amara's tray tilted. Champagne glasses clinked dangerously. Move. Breathe. He won't recognize you. You were nobody to him. A moment. A mistake. She turned toward the kitchen, her heart hammering against her ribs like a caged bird, when the ballroom doors burst open and Kai tumbled through, his face flushed and excited. Mama! Mama! Mrs. Chen's daughter fell asleep and I got bored and I wanted to see. Kai, no baby, you can't be here. Amara abandoned her tray on a nearby table, reaching for her son, trying to be invisible while every instinct screamed run. But Kai had already spotted something that arrested him completely. He'd stopped moving, stopped talking, his small body rigid with an attention that seemed to pull at something deeper than sight. His eyes locked onto Dante across the room. Dante, who had frozen mid-conversation, his champagne glass suspended in air. The crowd moved between them, a river of silk and pearls, but Kai navigated it with strange certainty, his small legs carrying him forward like he was following a compass only he could read. Kai, stop! Amara pushed through the crowd, panic turning her blood to ice. Dante stood perfectly still, watching the child approach with an expression Amara had never seen on his face, confusion warring with something that looked almost like recognition, like déjà vu made flesh. Kai stopped 3 feet away, tilting his head up to study the tall man who stared down at him. The resemblance was impossible to miss, the same sharp jawline softened by youth, the same gray-brown eyes that held storms, the same way of holding their shoulders like the world was theirs to carry. Dad. The word escaped Kai's lips. Not quite daddy, but close enough, shaped by longing and instinct and something ancient that lived in bones and blood. Time fractured. Dante's champagne glass slipped from his fingers, shattering against the marble floor in an explosion of crystal and golden liquid. The ballroom conversation died like someone had cut its throat. Amara reached Kai, grabbing his hand hard enough to hurt, but she couldn't move, couldn't breathe, because Dante was looking at her now, really seeing her for the first time in 5 years, and his face had gone absolutely white. Amara, he whispered, and her name in his mouth, after all this time, was a bullet and a benediction. His eyes dropped to Kai, traced every line of the boy's face, lingered on features that mirrored his own with mathematical precision. She watched him count backward, watched realization dawn like a sunrise that burned everything it touched. How old? His voice cracked. Dante Morelli, the man who reportedly had ice in his veins, who'd built an empire on ruthlessness, whose voice never shook, cracked like a teenager. How old is he? 5, Amara heard herself say. He just turned 5. The math was simple, brutal, undeniable. Dante's hand reached toward Kai, trembling, then fell. Mine! The word barely had sound. Kai looked between them, confusion replacing wonder. Mama, who is this? Tell him nobody. Tell him a stranger. Grab your son and run, and don't stop running until you're somewhere. Dante Morelli's reach can't find you. But Amara's throat had closed around the lie, and the truth sat between them like a third person, impossible to ignore. We need to talk, Dante said, his voice returning with steel beneath it. Not a request. Around them, the crowd had formed a circle. Vultures. Sensing blood. Phones probably already recording. Tomorrow's gossip being written in real time. I'm working, Amara managed. I can't. You're done working. Dante looked at someone over her shoulder. Vincent, handle it. Sir, now. One of the suited men approached Amara's supervisor, had a quiet conversation punctuated by the passing of what was probably far too much money. The supervisor looked at Amara, nodded permission laced with envy and curiosity. There's a private room upstairs, Dante said, still not touching them, like he was afraid they might disappear if he moved too fast. Please, 5 minutes. Mama, I'm scared, Kai whispered, pressing against her leg. Something in Dante's face crumbled. Don't be scared. I would never. He stopped, swallowed hard. I just want to talk. Just talk, I promise. Amara looked into the eyes of the man she'd never stopped dreaming about and saw something she hadn't expected. Terror. Pure, undiluted terror that matched her own. She'd spent 5 years running from this moment, but Kai had found what she'd hidden, and there was nowhere left to run. 5 minutes, she agreed, and watched relief and anguish fight for dominance on Dante's face. He led them toward a private elevator, his men creating a barrier against the watching crowd, and with every step, Amara felt the life she'd built, small and safe and hers, crumbling beneath her feet. The private room was obscenely elegant, leather furniture that probably cost more than her car, a view of the city that made the world look small and conquerable, air that smelled like expensive cologne and old money. Kai clung to Amara's leg, his earlier curiosity replaced by wariness. Smart boy. He'd inherited her survival instincts, if nothing else. Dante stood by the window, his back to them, shoulders rigid with tension that hadn't been there moments before. When he finally turned, his face had been wiped clean of emotion, the mask back in place. Sit, please, he gestured to the couch. We're fine standing, Amara said, hating how her voice shook. Amara, don't! She cut him off. Don't say my name like you know me. Like that night meant. She glanced at Kai, adjusted, like anything happened except what happened. His jaw tightened. A son happened. My son. And you didn't think I deserved to know? Your son? The words tasted bitter. You don't get to walk into our lives after 5 years and claim ownership. Ownership. Dante's voice rose, then caught. He pressed his fingers to his temples, breathing hard. I'm not trying to. He looked at Kai and his expression softened impossibly. What's his name? Kai. Kai, Dante repeated, like he was tasting something sacred. That's a good name. Don't do that, Amara warned. Don't pretend this is some heartwarming reunion. You're a dangerous man, Dante. I know what you are, what you do. Why do you think I left? Something flickered in his eyes, hurt, quickly buried. You left because of what you think I am? I left because of what I know you are. The memory rushed back, waking in his penthouse, stumbling toward the door, hearing his men in the hallway. Boss doesn't do repeats. If she's still here in the morning, she becomes a loose end. She'd run then, barefoot and terrified, had disappeared so completely even she'd been impressed. I heard them, Dante, your men, talking about what happens to people like me. Dante went very still. What did you hear? Enough. She pulled Kai closer. Enough to know that my son, doesn't belong in your world. He's my son too. Dante's voice dropped to something dangerous. DNA doesn't lie, Amara. That boy has my eyes, my face, and my heart, my courage, my values. Amara lifted her chin. I've raised him alone for 5 years, fed him, clothed him, held him when he cried, taught him right from wrong. Where were you? I didn't know. The words exploded from him. If I'd known, if you told me, you would have what? Left your empire? Changed your life? Men like you don't change, Dante. You take what you want and destroy what you can't control. Is that what you think of me? His voice had gone quiet, deadly quiet. After that night, after everything that night was a mistake, Amara said, even though the lie burned her tongue. I was desperate, alone, and stupid enough to think a man like you could see me as anything more than, don't. Now his voice shook. Don't you dare cheapen what happened between us. I have spent 5 years trying to find you. 5 years, Amara. I tore this city apart looking for the woman who disappeared from my life like a ghost. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But belief was a luxury single mothers couldn't afford. I want a paternity test, Dante said. Abruptly, Amara's blood went cold. No, it's not negotiable. Everything about my son is negotiable when it comes to you. She moved toward the door. We're leaving. Amara, wait. No. She wrenched open the door, Kai's hand tight in hers. Stay away from us. I mean it, Dante. I'll disappear again, and this time you won't find us. You think I'll let you take my son and vanish? Dante's voice turned to stone. You think I don't have resources, that I can't find anyone in this city? Fear and fury warred in her chest. Are you threatening me? I'm telling you facts. He straightened, every inch the dangerous man she'd warned herself about. That boy is mine. The test will prove it. And when it does, we'll discuss how this works going forward. There is no going forward. There's me and Kai, living our lives, and you staying the hell away from us. Mama? Kai's voice was small, scared. Why are you yelling? Amara's heart shattered. She crouched down, cupped his face. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. We're going home now, okay? She stood, met Dante's eyes one last time. I protected him from your world once. I'll do it again. She walked out before he could respond, before the tears burning her eyes could fall, before she could look at his face and see the longing there that matched her own. Behind her, she heard something crash, glass or furniture, or the careful control Dante Morelli was famous for maintaining. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered except getting Kai somewhere safe, somewhere far from the man whose eyes haunted her dreams and whose world could swallow them whole. Amara should have known running wouldn't work, should have remembered that men like Dante didn't accept defeat. They regrouped, strategized, and came back with overwhelming force. She just hadn't expected it to happen at 2 in the morning. Kai's fever had spiked around midnight, burning skin, glassy eyes, whimpering about his throat hurting. Amara had given him children's acetaminophen, pressed cool cloths to his forehead, whispered reassurances while panic gnawed at her ribs. When his temperature hit 104, she'd called the night clinic number. Busy signal. Her insurance had lapsed last month. She'd missed the payment trying to cover rent. The emergency room meant bills she couldn't pay, but her son's labored breathing left no choice. She was pulling on her jacket when someone knocked. No, not knocked. 3 precise raps that somehow communicated authority and expectation. Who is it? She called. Kai bundled against her chest. Medical assistance, ma'am. Mr. Morelli was informed of the situation. Amara's blood turned to ice. How did you? May we come in? Your son needs attention. She wanted to refuse, wanted to slam the door on whatever this was, but Kai whimpered, and her maternal instinct overrode everything else. 2 people stood in the hallway, a woman in professional attire carrying a medical bag and one of Dante's security men, Vincent. I'm Dr. Reishi, the woman said, her voice gentle. Pediatric specialist. May I examine him? I didn't call you. Mr. Morelli has been monitoring the situation. He wants to help. Monitoring? Amara's voice rose. You mean stalking? Vincent had the grace to look uncomfortable. Keeping informed, there's a difference. Get out, both of you. Kai coughed, a wet, rattling sound that sent terror through her. Dr. Reyes met her eyes with understanding. I'm a doctor first, ma'am. Whatever's happening between you and Mr. Morelli, that child needs medical attention. Let me examine him. If he's stable, I'll treat him here. If not, I have an ambulance standing by. The professional competence, the lack of judgment, the clear concern in her eyes. It broke through Amara's defenses. Fine, but he stays outside. She jerked her chin at Vincent. 20 minutes later, Kai had been examined, diagnosed with strep throat, given antibiotics, and was sleeping peacefully on the couch. Amara sat beside him, stroking his hair while Dr. Reyes packed her supplies. The fever should break within 24 hours, the doctor said. I'll check on him tomorrow. Call this number if anything changes. She handed over a card. And Miss Williams? What? Whatever happened between you two, Mr. Morelli was beside himself when Vincent reported the fever. I've worked for him 3 years. I've never seen him like that. Amara said nothing. After Dr. Reyes left, Vincent remained in the doorway. Boss wants you both to come to his place. Better medical facilities, more comfortable. Absolutely not. Miss Williams, I said no. But her apartment suddenly felt smaller, shabbier, inadequate. The guilt that lived in her bones, that she couldn't provide better, couldn't afford better, flared bright and vicious. He's not trying to control you, Vincent said quietly. He's trying to help his son. There's a difference. Is there? But her voice had lost its edge. Vincent studied her with surprising gentleness. I've known Dante Morelli for 10 years. He's hard, yes. Dangerous, absolutely. But he's never, he paused, choosing words carefully. He's never looked at anyone the way he looked at you in that ballroom, like you were oxygen and he'd been drowning. Pretty words don't change facts. No, but facts change when you know all of them. Vincent pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. This is what you overheard 5 years ago. Amara's breath caught. The photo showed 2 men, Dante's men. She recognized them, both dead in what looked like an alley. They were discussing you, Vincent continued, planning to handle the situation without boss knowing. Dante found out. This is what happened to them. He met her eyes. He doesn't do loose ends, Miss Williams. He protects what's his. And you were his from that first night, whether either of you admitted it. The revelation tilted her world. He killed them because of me? Because they threatened you. There's a difference. Vincent pocketed his phone. I'm not saying he's a saint, but I am saying you didn't have all the information when you ran. Amara looked at Kai, sleeping peacefully for the first time in hours, and felt the walls she'd built beginning to crack. He just wants to be near him, Vincent said softly. Near both of you. The penthouse has a full medical suite, a staff that can help with Kai, and enough security to make sure you're both safe. No strings, no obligations, just let him be a father. For a few days, until Kai's better. Every instinct screamed to refuse, to maintain independence, to keep running. But Kai coughed in his sleep, and Amara heard herself say, 3 days, just until he's better. Then we leave. Vincent nodded. I'll have a car brought around. An hour later, Amara stood in Dante's penthouse with her sleeping son in her arms, watching the city sprawl beneath them like a kingdom, and wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life, or given them all a chance at something impossible. Dante appeared from a hallway, dressed in casual clothes she'd never seen him wear, jeans, a simple t-shirt, looking more human and more dangerous than ever. Their eyes met across the expensive space. Thank you, he said simply, for trusting me. I don't trust you, Amara replied, but I trust that you want to know your son. For now, that's enough. Something in his expression softened. For now, I'll take it. He showed her to a bedroom suite that was bigger than her entire apartment, left her with promises of privacy and anything she needed. But when she finally laid Kai down and crawled into the impossibly soft bed, she couldn't sleep. Because down the hall, Dante Morelli was probably also awake, and they were trapped together by circumstance and a child they'd made from one perfect night. And she had no idea how this would end. Morning came soft and golden, through floor-to-ceiling windows, so different from the harsh fluorescent that usually woke Amara. Kai still slept, his forehead finally cool, breathing easy. She found Dante in the kitchen, staring at a coffee maker like it held the secrets of the universe. I don't actually know how to use this, he admitted without looking up. I usually have staff for... He stopped, grimaced. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? Despite everything, Amara almost smiled. Let me. They moved around each other carefully, strangers learning a domestic dance. She made coffee, real coffee, the expensive kind that tasted like the heaven she'd forgotten existed. He watched her like she was performing surgery. You take it black, he observed. I remembered that. Her hand trembled slightly. You remembered. I remembered everything about that night. He leaned against the counter, maintaining distance. What you wore, how you laughed, the way you looked at the city like it was something magical instead of something to conquer. He paused. The way you cried after. Don't. Why did you cry? Amara? Because it had been perfect. Because she'd felt seen for the first time in her life. Because she'd known it couldn't last. It doesn't matter now. It matters to me. She sipped her coffee, buying time. Through the open door, she could see Kai still sleeping peacefully, safe. That's what mattered. Why were you at that bar? Dante asked quietly. 5 years ago, you never told me. The memory crashed back. Sitting at that dive bar in a neighborhood nowhere near this penthouse, crying into cheap whiskey after her eviction notice, after losing her job, after her mother's cancer diagnosis wiped out what little savings existed. Bad day, she said simply. Bad enough to go home with a stranger. Bad enough to need to feel something other than despair. She met his eyes. You were kind to me that night. Before everything else, you were just kind. Something in his face cracked. I was drowning too. I didn't know how to say it, but I was drowning, and you... He stopped. Started again. My father had just died. The empire, the expectations, the things I'd have to become to survive in this world, it was crushing me. And then you walked in, and for a few hours I wasn't Dante Morelli. I was just a man talking to a woman who made me laugh. Amara's throat tightened. I didn't know about your father. I didn't tell you. I didn't want to be that person with you. I wanted to be... He laughed bitterly. Someone better. They stood in silence, the weight of 5 years pressing down. When I woke up and you were gone, Dante continued, I thought I dreamed you. Then I found your earring on the nightstand and I knew you were real. I looked everywhere. Private investigators, security footage, everything. You vanished like you'd never existed. I was good at disappearing. Had to be. She set down her coffee. My mom died 3 months after that night. Kai was born 6 months later. I was alone, scared, and convinced that if I contacted you, I'd be putting my son in danger because of what you overheard. Yes, she looked at him fully. But Vincent showed me what really happened to them. Dante's expression hardened. They talked about hurting you, making sure you stayed quiet. I don't tolerate threats against... He stopped himself. I handled it. By killing them. Yes. No apology, no excuse, just fact. Amara should have been horrified, should have grabbed Kai and run, but instead she felt something shift, understanding that in his world, protection looked like violence, that love, twisted through the lens of power, became ruthless. I need you to understand something, Dante said, moving slightly closer. I'm not a good man, Amara. I've done things that would give you nightmares. I've built an empire on fear and control and violence when necessary, but I have never... His voice caught. I have never hurt someone who didn't hurt me first. I have never threatened a child. And I would burn this entire city down before I let anything happen to Kai. Or to me? The question slipped out. Especially to you. He said it like a vow, like a confession. That night changed me, Amara. I spent 5 years trying to forget you, and every day failing. And now you're here, and there's a child, our child, sleeping in my guest room, and I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be a father, but I want to learn. Amara felt tears threaten. He asks about you, you know? Not you specifically, but he asks why other kids have daddies and he doesn't. And I never know what to say. Tell him the truth, that his father is an idiot who didn't know he existed but would have moved heaven and earth if he had. And the rest, your empire, the danger. Dante was quiet for a long moment. I can't change what I am, but I can control how it touches you both. I can create distance, safety, walls between my world and yours. I've already started. Started what? Restructuring, delegating the dangerous parts to people far from my personal life, building legitimate businesses that can't be traced back to other things. He met her eyes. I can't become a saint overnight, Amara, but I can become the kind of man my son won't be ashamed of, if you give me time. Before she could respond, a sleepy voice called from the bedroom, Mama. They both moved instinctively toward Kai's voice, but Amara got there first. She found him sitting up, eyes wide, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. Where are we? He asked. Dante appeared in the doorway, hanging back, uncertain. Amara made a decision that terrified her. Kai, baby, this is Dante. He's the man you met yesterday, and he's... She looked at Dante, saw hope and fear warring on his face. He's your daddy. Kai's eyes went huge. Really? Really, Dante said, his voice thick. Kai studied him with the brutal honesty of 5-year-olds. Why weren't you here before? Dante knelt slowly, bringing himself to Kai's eye level. Because I didn't know about you, buddy. But now that I do, I want to be here, if that's okay with you. Do you know how to play chess? The question was so unexpected that Dante laughed, a real laugh that transformed his face. I do, actually. Mama doesn't. She always loses. Kai looked between them. Can you teach me? I'd love to. And just like that, the first fragile thread connected between father and son. Amara watched them, her heart a battlefield of hope and terror, and wondered if she'd just given them all a chance at something beautiful, or invited a storm that would destroy everything. Sometimes the people we run from are the ones we need most. Have you ever judged someone's past without knowing their full story? How did the truth change your perspective? Share below. Your experience might help someone else. 3 days became 5. 5 became 7. Amara told herself it was because Kai needed stability while recovering, that it had nothing to do with watching Dante teach their son chess at the dining room table, his patience infinite, his laughter genuine. Nothing to do with the way her heart stuttered when she found them asleep together on the couch. Kai curled against Dante's chest while an animated movie played on mute. Nothing to do with slowly remembering why she'd fallen for him in the first place. Checkmate, Kai crowed, bouncing in his chair. Dante studied the board with exaggerated dismay. How did you? You're 5. This is humiliating. You let me win, Kai accused. I absolutely did not. You're a natural. Dante ruffled his hair, the gesture so natural now it hurt to watch. Your mama must have given you her strategic mind. Mama can't play chess, Kai reminded him. She's strategic in other ways. She raised an amazing kid on her own. That takes more skill than any game. Amara, listening from the kitchen, felt warmth flood through her. Can I ask you something? Kai's voice turned serious. Anything, buddy. Why did Mama cry last night? Amara froze. She'd thought Kai was asleep when she'd finally broken down, overwhelmed by exhaustion, fear, and the slow realization that her carefully controlled world was being rebuilt into something she didn't recognize. Dante's voice gentled, impossibly. Because grown-ups sometimes cry when things are hard. Your mama's been very brave, but everyone gets tired of being brave. Are you making her sad? I hope not. I'm trying to make her happy, but I'm not very good at it yet. You should bring her flowers and chocolate. Mama likes chocolate. Dante's laugh was soft. Those are excellent suggestions. What else does she like? When I draw her pictures, and when we watch the stars, but we can't see them from our apartment because of the lights. Would you like to see them tonight? Real stars? How? I know a place. If your mama says yes. Amara walked into the room before she could stop herself. Mama says she's standing right here and can speak for herself. Kai grinned. Dante wants to show us stars. Does he? She met Dante's eyes, saw invitation and uncertainty there. There's a place upstate, an observatory, private. We could drive up, spend a few hours, come back tonight. If you want. She should say no. Should maintain boundaries. Should remember this was temporary. Please, Mama. Kai's eyes were so bright, so hopeful. Okay, she heard herself say. Yes. The drive took 2 hours through countryside that gradually shared the city's glow. Kai talked non-stop from the back seat, his chatter filling the spaces where adult uncertainty lived. Dante drove with one hand, relaxed in a way Amara had never seen him, occasionally catching her eye and smiling, like they shared a secret. They did share a secret. They shared Kai. The observatory sat atop a hill, a small building with a dome that opened to reveal the universe. Dante had arranged for it to be empty, just them and the cosmos. Look, Mama. Kai pressed his face against the telescope. There's millions of them. Dante adjusted the focus. Named constellations told stories about ancient heroes written in light. His knowledge surprised her until she remembered. He'd been educated at the finest schools, groomed for leadership, taught to understand worlds both terrestrial and celestial. Your turn, he said to Amara. She looked through the telescope and gasped. The Andromeda Galaxy spiraled in impossible beauty, a reminder of how small they were, how brief their existence, how precious these moments. It's beautiful, she whispered. Yes, Dante agreed. But when she turned, he was looking at her, not the stars. Later, they sat on a blanket outside while Kai chased fireflies, his laughter ringing through the warm night. Thank you, Amara said quietly, for this, for giving him memories he'll keep forever. I should thank you for 5 years of birthdays, first steps, first words, all the things I missed because I was too stupid to keep you from running. It wasn't your fault, wasn't it? He turned to face her. I built a life that made you afraid, that made you think I'd hurt you. That's on me, Amara. You're changing that now. Am I changing fast enough? The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open inside her. Every night, I lie awake terrified that you'll wake up and remember who I am, what I've done, and you'll take Kai and disappear again, and I'll have had this taste of family, of being seen, of mattering to someone beyond what I can give them, and then it'll be gone. Dante, I love him. The confession burst out. I know I barely know him. I know I have no right, but God, Amara, I love that boy. His laugh, his questions, the way he concentrates when he's thinking. I love him so much, it terrifies me. Amara's eyes burned with tears. He loves you too. He told me yesterday that he wishes we could stay here forever. Could you? Dante's hand found hers. Stay. Not forever. I'm not asking for, but stay. Give this a real chance. Give us a real chance. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I. His thumb traced circles on her palm, but I'm more scared of losing you both than of trying and failing. Kai ran up, breathless and happy. I caught one. I caught a firefly. They cupped their hands around his, watched the insect glow and pulse with bioluminescent magic. Now you have to make a wish and let it go, Dante told him. Kai screwed up his face in concentration, then opened his hands. The firefly lifted into the night, joining its constellation of kin. What did you wish for? Amara asked. Can't tell or it won't come true. But Kai climbed onto Dante's lap, nestled against his chest, and yawned hugely. Are we a family now? Dante's arms closed around him, and he looked at Amara with everything he felt written on his face. Yeah, buddy, he said roughly. We're figuring out how to be a family. Good. Kai yawned again. 'Cause I like having a daddy. I like being your daddy. On the drive home, Kai slept between them. Amara had moved to the back seat to let him stretch out, and Dante met her eyes in the rearview mirror. I meant what I said, he told her quietly. I'm all in, Amara, however long it takes, however hard it gets. I'm all in. And looking at her son sleeping peacefully, at this man who'd somehow become essential in just over a week, Amara felt her carefully constructed walls finally crumble. Me too, she whispered. I'm all in too. The words should have terrified her. Instead, they felt like coming home. The bullet shattered the penthouse window at 3 a.m. Amara woke to sound of breaking glass and Dante's body slamming into hers, covering her completely as shards rained down like deadly snow. Stay down. His voice was steel and ice, nothing like the gentle man who'd shown them stars hours ago. Vincent! The door burst open. More men poured in, weapons drawn, sweeping the room with practiced efficiency. Amara couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel Dante's heart hammering against her back and terror flooding her veins. Kai. She tried to move. He's safe. Vincent's got him. Dante's grip tightened. Don't move. There could be more, but there weren't more bullets. Just the one. A message punched through expensive glass, embedding itself in the wall where Amara's head had been moments before. When they finally moved, Dante pulled her up with shaking hands, his eyes wild as he checked her for injuries. Are you hurt? Did anything? I'm fine. Kai. I need to see Kai. They found him in Vincent's arms in the hallway, crying and terrified but unharmed. Amara grabbed him, held him so tight he squeaked. Mama, what happened? I heard a loud noise. Just an accident, baby. Everything's okay. But everything wasn't okay. Dante stood apart, his phone pressed to his ear, his voice low and lethal as he gave orders that made his men pale. When he hung up, his face was a mask carved from granite. The Castellano family, Mapa, he said flatly. They found out about you, about Kai. Amara's blood turned to ice. What does that mean? It means they're sending a message that I have something to lose now. He looked at her, and she saw something die in his eyes, the softness, the hope, the fragile humanity he'd been rebuilding. It means I was right 5 years ago. People in my life become targets. No. She heard the word coming from far away. No, you don't get to do this. Do what? Protect you. His laugh was bitter. That bullet was meant for you, Amara, to hurt me by destroying what I care about. This is what happens. This is what my world looks like. So we fight. We call the police. The police can't help against people like this. Only I can. And the only way to keep you safe is to get you far away from me. Understanding crashed over her. You're sending us away. I'm protecting you. You're running, just like I did. She put Kai down, stepped toward Dante. You said you were all in. You said I was wrong. His voice could have cut glass. I was selfish and stupid and forgot that everything I touch turns to violence. Look at what I've brought into your life. A bullet through your window. Terror for your son. This is what happens when people know Dante Morelli cares about something. Stop it. Tears streamed down her face. Stop hiding behind this noble sacrifice bullshit. You're scared. Scared of trying, scared of failing, scared of being human. I'm scared of you dying. The words exploded from him. I'm scared of waking up and finding out they took you from me. Took him. That I failed to protect the only real thing I've ever had. So you're going to push us away instead. Make that choice for us. Yes. His face was stone. Vincent will take you to a safe house. New identities, new location. Enough money to start over anywhere you want. Far from here. Far from me. And if I refuse? You don't get to refuse. This isn't a negotiation. He turned to Vincent. Get them ready to move now. Boss, Vincent started. Now. Amara grabbed Dante's arm, forced him to look at her. Is this really what you want? To be alone again? To never see your son grow up, never know what he becomes, never. What I want doesn't matter. He pulled away from her touch like it burned. All that matters is keeping you alive, both of you. You're a coward, she spat. A coward hiding behind protection and sacrifice when really you're just too afraid to be loved. Something in his face crumbled, then reformed harder. Maybe I am, but you'll be alive to hate me for it. He walked away, just walked away, leaving her standing in the hallway with their terrified son and the ruins of something that had almost been beautiful. They were packed and moving within the hour. Vincent tried to be gentle, tried to explain that Dante was doing this out of love, but Amara couldn't hear it through the rage and heartbreak. Kai cried the whole drive to the safe house. I want daddy. Mama, I want daddy. I know, baby, I know. Why won't he come with us? Because he's broken, she thought, because he doesn't believe he deserves good things, because 5 years ago I ran, and I taught him that people leave, and now he's making sure it happens on his terms. Because sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, she said instead. The safe house was nice, a cottage upstate, fully stocked, security outside, a comfortable prison. Vincent handed her an envelope before leaving. He wanted you to have this, and for what it's worth, I've never seen him like this. He's destroying himself trying to protect you. After Vincent left, Amara opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a letter in Dante's precise handwriting. Amara, I know you hate me right now. You should. I hate myself. There's money in the account. More than enough for Kai's entire future. Education, medical care, whatever he needs. Vincent will handle the details so it can't be traced back to me. Tell him his father loved him more than anything. Tell him I wanted to stay but couldn't risk his life for my happiness. Tell him to be better than me. It won't be hard. And Amara, that night 5 years ago wasn't a mistake. It was the only real thing I've ever done. You gave me a son, gave me hope, gave me a reason to try being human. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to keep trying. Take care of our boy. That's all that matters now. She read it 3 times, then crumpled it in her fist and screamed until her throat was raw. Kai crawled into her lap, small and scared. Is Daddy coming back? Amara held him and lied. I don't know, baby. But she did know. Dante had made his choice, had decided they were safer without him, had pushed them away with both hands, had chosen his empire of violence over their fragile family. She'd spent 5 years running from him. Now he was running from them. And somehow, that hurt even worse. Outside, rain began to fall, heavy and relentless, like the sky was crying for what they'd lost. 4 days passed like years. Amara moved through the cottage like a ghost, feeding Kai, reading him stories, holding him when he cried for the father who'd abandoned them. Again, Vincent called daily with updates she didn't want. He's handling the Castellano situation. They've been neutralized. You're safe now. We were never not safe, she told him coldly. We survived 5 years without him. We'll survive the rest. But at night, alone in the too-big bed, she pulled out Dante's letter and read it until the words blurred. Heard the pain beneath the words, the self-loathing, the desperate love that made him push them away. He's destroying himself, trying to protect you. On the 5th day, Kai stopped eating. I'm not hungry, he said, pushing away his favorite meal. Baby, you need to eat. Why? His little face was so sad it broke her. Why do I need to be strong if Daddy's not coming back? Amara's heart shattered. Oh, Kai, you said he loved us, but people who love you don't leave. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Did I do something wrong? Is that why he left? No, baby, no. She pulled him close. Your daddy loves you so much. He left because he was scared, not because of anything you did. Then why doesn't he come back? If he loves us, why doesn't he fight for us? The question hung in the air, an accusation and a truth. Why didn't he fight? Why did they always run? First her, now him, instead of standing together against the darkness. Amara made a decision. Vincent, she said when he called that afternoon, I need you to take us back to the city. I can't do that without boss's approval. I'm not asking for his approval. I'm telling you what's happening. Either you drive us, or I'll find my own way. But I'm done hiding. Silence. Then, he'll be furious. Good. He should be. We all should be. She looked at Kai, who'd perked up at her tone. We're going to go talk to him, and this time, he's going to listen. The penthouse was dark when they arrived. After midnight, the city, lights providing the only illumination through the repaired windows. Dante sat in the living room, a glass of scotch untouched on the table beside him, staring at nothing. He didn't look up when they entered, didn't react at all. Kai, wait in the hallway, Amara said softly. But Mama, please, baby, let me talk to him first. Kai reluctantly obeyed, though he kept looking back at Dante with longing so raw it hurt to witness. Amara walked until she stood directly in Dante's line of sight. Look at me. He didn't. Dante, look at me. Slowly, his eyes lifted. What she saw there made her breath catch. Devastation, emptiness. A man who'd hollowed himself out and found nothing inside worth saving. You shouldn't be here, he said flatly. Vincent. Vincent brought us because I asked him to. Because our son stopped eating. Because he thinks he did something wrong, thinks that's why you left. Dante flinched like she'd struck him. I'll call him. Explain? No. She sat down across from him. You'll look him in the eye and explain why you chose fear over family. Why you decided we were better off without you instead of asking what we wanted. What you want doesn't matter if you're dead. We're all going to die someday, Dante. The question is whether we live first. She leaned forward. You neutralized the threat. Vincent told me. The Castellanos are gone, their associates scattered. We're safe, so why are we still in exile? Because there will always be another threat, another enemy who sees you as leverage. Then we face them together. You teach Kai and me how to protect ourselves. You use your resources to build walls around us. You do whatever it takes, but you don't abandon us. I'm not abandoning you. I'm lying to yourself. Her voice softened. You're punishing yourself for being human, for wanting something beyond your empire, and you're punishing us in the process. Dante's hands shook. I don't know how to do this. Be this person. What if I fail? What if you succeed? She reached across, took his hands. What if we actually make this work? What if we build something real and strong and worth protecting? Are you really going to throw that away because you're scared? I'm terrified, he admitted, his voice breaking. Of failing you, of failing him, of proving that I'm exactly what everyone thinks I am, a monster who ruins everything he touches. You're not a monster. You're a man who's made hard choices in an impossible world, but you're also a father who taught his son chess, who showed us stars, who held me while the world fell apart and made me believe we could be okay. Tears slipped down Dante's face, the first time she'd ever seen him cry. I've killed people, Amara. I've destroyed lives, ended careers, buried secrets. How do I be a father with hands covered in blood? The same way I became a mother, while terrified and alone, one day at a time, one choice at a time, choosing love over fear. She squeezed his hands. But you have to choose it, Dante. I can't make this decision for you. He looked toward the hallway where Kai waited, then back at her. If I do this, if I try, I need you to promise me something. What? That if it gets too dangerous, if my world starts bleeding into his life in ways we can't control, you'll leave. Take him somewhere safe and don't look back. Dante, promise me. I can try to be better, try to protect you both, but I can't live with myself if my stubbornness gets either of you killed. Promise me that his safety comes first, always. She saw the desperation in his eyes, the genuine terror beneath the walls. This was his compromise, trying while keeping the escape route clear. I promise, she said. If the day comes when staying puts Kai in real danger, I'll take him somewhere safe. But that day isn't today, and I don't think it's coming. I think you're stronger than you believe. Dante pulled her close then, buried his face against her neck, and shook with silent sobs. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I know, I forgive you. She held him while he broke, while 5 years of armor cracked and fell away. Now, come tell your son you're sorry. He's been waiting. Dante pulled back, wiped his eyes, tried to compose himself. I look like a mess. Good. Let him see you're human. Let him see that even daddies make mistakes and cry sometimes. They walked to the hallway together. Kai sat against the wall, knees pulled to his chest, looking so small and lost that Dante's face crumpled again. He knelt, slowly. Hey, buddy. Kai looked at him with wounded eyes. Did you come back? Yeah, I came back. I'm so sorry, Kai. I made a mistake. Kai launched himself at Dante, wrapping small arms around his neck. Don't leave again. Please don't leave again. I won't. I promise. Dante held him like he was made of glass and steel simultaneously, precious and strong. I'm your daddy and I'm staying if you have me. Forever. Dante looked at Amara over Kai's head, saw her nod. Yeah, buddy. Forever. Kai pulled back, studied his face with 5-year-old seriousness. You're crying. Yeah. Sometimes grown-ups cry when they're happy. Are you happy? So happy I don't have words for it. Kai smiled, small at first, then growing. Can we play chess tomorrow? We can play chess every day if you want, and look at stars, every clear night, and be a real family. Dante's voice cracked. Yes, a real family. Kai hugged him again, then reached for Amara, pulling her into the embrace until they were tangled together, imperfect, damaged, but choosing each other anyway. I love you, Daddy, Kai whispered. Dante closed his eyes, let the words sink into the broken places and start healing what he'd thought was beyond repair. I love you too, son, more than anything in this world. Outside, dawn was breaking over the city. A new day, a new chance, a new beginning for 3 people learning to be a family. 6 months. Later, the changes were everywhere, subtle and profound, like the city itself had rearranged while no one was looking. Dante's empire had shifted. He'd sold off the darkest pieces, delegated the gray areas, kept only what could stand scrutiny in daylight. It cost him power, cost him respect among certain circles, but gained him something more valuable. Nights when he came home without blood on his conscience. The penthouse had transformed too. Kai's drawings covered the refrigerator. Toys lived in corners where expensive art had been. The sterile perfection had given way to comfortable chaos, proof that people lived here, loved here, belonged here. Amara had moved in 3 months ago after Dante asked properly, not a demand, not an assumption, but a vulnerable question. Would you build a life with me? She'd said yes because she'd seen his commitment in actions, not words. Seen him walk away from deals that compromise his values. Seen him show up for parent-teacher conferences and doctor's appointments. Seen him choose them every day in 1,000 small ways. Now she stood in the kitchen making breakfast while Kai set up the chessboard at the dining table, and Dante read the newspaper with reading glasses that made him look almost domestic. Almost. There were still bodyguards downstairs, still security protocols, still moments when his phone rang with problems that required the old Dante. Cold, calculating, ruthless. But he always came back to them, always remembered that this was home now. "Mama," Kai called. "It's almost time." Amara smiled. Today was special. The finalization of Dante's formal adoption of Kai. Not that biology had ever been in question, but the legal recognition mattered, the choice to build something permanent. "I'm nervous," Dante admitted, setting down the paper. "Why? He's already your son." "I know, but this makes it official, real. And what if I screw it up? What if—" Amara kissed him, cutting off the spiral of anxiety she'd learned to recognize. "You're already an amazing father. The papers just make what's in your heart official." "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You were just too busy being brooding and dangerous to notice." He pulled her closer, rested his forehead against hers. "I still can't believe you stayed, that you gave me this chance." "We gave each other a chance. That's how family works." A knock interrupted them. Vincent, now promoted to head of legitimate security operations, looking almost comfortable in his role. "The lawyer's here whenever you're ready, boss." And he smiled. "Congratulations." The proceedings were simple, almost anticlimactic. A judge who asked questions, reviewed documents, made official what had always been true. "Kai Morelli," the judge said, and Dante's hand tightened on Amara's. "Congratulations to your family." Kai beamed, bouncing on his toes. "I have a last name now, a real one, like Daddy's." "You always had a real name, buddy," Amara corrected gently. "But yes, now you share Daddy's name too." Outside the courthouse, photographers waited. Not paparazzi, but the legitimate press interested in Dante Morelli's transformation from shadowy businessman to public family man. He'd learned to tolerate the attention, understanding it came with his new life. "Mr. Morelli, how does it feel to officially become a father?" Dante looked at Kai, then at Amara, and something in his face softened completely, like I've been waiting my whole life for this moment and didn't know it. "Any advice for other fathers?" He was quiet for a moment, considering. "Show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Show up. Your children don't need you to be perfect, they need you to be present." Later, they celebrated at Kai's favorite pizza place. Nowhere fancy, no private rooms, just a family having dinner like millions of other families. Kai wore his pizza sauce like war paint, talking excitedly about his upcoming birthday party. Dante listened with the focus he'd once reserved for business negotiations, asking questions, making suggestions, being dad. "Can we invite everyone?" Kai asked. "Even the kids from my class who are mean sometimes?" "Especially them," Dante said. "Sometimes people are mean because they're hurting. Maybe being included will help." Amara caught his eye, smiled at the wisdom hidden in the response. This man who'd once solved problems with fear and force was teaching their son about compassion. After dinner, they walked through the city, Dante with Kai on his shoulders, Amara beside them, bodyguards maintaining distance but present. The night was cool and clear, perfect for the surprise Dante had planned. He led them to a building Amara didn't recognize, used a key to open a private entrance. "Where are we going?" she asked. "You'll see." They climbed stairs to a rooftop that had been transformed into a garden, flowering plants, comfortable seating, string lights creating constellation patterns overhead. "I bought the building," Dante explained as Kai ran to explore. "The penthouse is great, but I wanted you to have this too, a place to see stars without leaving home." Amara's eyes filled with tears. Dante, I remembered what Kai said, that you like watching stars but couldn't see them from your old apartment. He pulled her close. I can't give you a normal life, Amara. I can't erase my past or pretend I'm someone I'm not. But I can give you stars. I can give you safety. I can give you all of me every day for the rest of our lives. That's all I want. Stars and safety and you. She kissed him, soft and deep, a promise renewed. Mama, Daddy, look! Kai pointed at the sky where the first stars were appearing. Can you see them? They settled on the rooftop together, Kai between them, pointing out constellations Dante had taught him. The city hummed below, dangerous and beautiful, full of shadows and light. Tell me the story again, Kai requested, about how you and Mama met. Dante and Amara exchanged glances. They'd crafted a version appropriate for 5-year-olds, leaving out the desperation, the one-night stand, the years of separation. Your mama was the bravest person I'd ever met, Dante began. She walked into a room where she didn't belong and caught my attention. We talked all night about dreams and fears and what we wanted from life. And then you fell in love? Kai asked. Something like that, Amara said gently. Sometimes love doesn't happen all at once. Sometimes it grows slowly through choices and challenges and choosing each other again and again. Do you choose each other now? Every day, Dante said firmly. Every single day. Kai yawned, satisfied. Good, because I choose you too, both of you, forever and ever. He fell asleep between them under the stars, safe and loved and certain of his place in the world. Amara rested her head on Dante's shoulder. We did it. We actually made this work. We're still making it work, every day. He kissed her hair. But yeah, we did it. Any regrets? He looked at their son sleeping peacefully, at the woman who'd given him everything he'd been too broken to ask for, at the life he'd built from the ruins of his empire. Not a single one. The city stretched below them, millions of stories unfolding simultaneously, some tragic, some beautiful, some both. Their story had started with desperation and separation, but it was ending, or beginning again, with this. A family choosing each other under stars that had witnessed countless human dramas and would witness countless more. 5 years ago, a scared woman and a broken man had shared one perfect night and created a miracle. Now that miracle slept between them, while they held hands and watched the universe spin overhead, grateful for the accident that became destiny, for the mistake that became everything right. Daddy? Kai murmured, without opening his eyes. Yeah, buddy. I love you. 3 words, simple, profound. The culmination of every choice, every fight, every moment of choosing courage over fear. I love you too, son. Forever. And in the space between stars and city, between past and future, between who they'd been and who they were becoming, 3 hearts beat in rhythm, a family whole and healing and home. Sometimes the most beautiful endings come from the most unexpected beginnings. What's a mistake or accident in your life that turned out to be a blessing? How did choosing courage over fear change your story? Share your thoughts below. Your story might inspire someone who needs to hear it today. And if this story moved you, let us know what moment hit hardest. We love hearing from you.